Intel reports earnings today at a critical moment for the chip giant. A series of fumbles have left the company reeling, and a new CEO will take the reins in 4 weeks. The question is, can Intel return to its former glory? John Fort weighs in with, on the other hand, it's weird, John. Intel was one tech company I didn't think would be subject to being, I don't know, displaced like we've seen so many other companies. I thought Intel always had the guts and the core and would always be there. Weird.
Well, yeah, Joe, but now Intel's done. Intel's toast. And the reason why? It just didn't change soon enough. I mean, the company has made a lot of money for a long time designing and manufacturing the brains of the personal computer. Its x86 architecture was the gold standard, but instead of evolving based on the company's real strengths, the brilliance of its engineers, and a vision of the future driven by a deep understanding of customers, Intel got stuck chasing too many fads and dedicating too little attention to what it does best, the combination of innovative chip design and precision manufacturing at scale. Now, in the meantime, two companies that Intel used to beat all the time, NVIDIA and AMD, have been enjoying huge surges because they believed in the core value of what they do best, and they stuck with it. But now, the cloud giants are trying to design their own chips, and so is Apple. Qualcomm's muscling into the PC space. It's over, Joe.
Okay. I imagine that there might be another viewpoint. So new CEO Pat Gelsinger shouldn't even bother, is your point?
Well, Joe, I mean, on the other hand, maybe Pat's got a shot. I mean, if Microsoft could return to its former glory, you can't count Intel out. Look at what Intel's done here. Pick a CEO who's an engineering veteran, grew up in the company, understands the culture, and has experience in exactly the area where Intel needs to catch up. That's a lot like what Microsoft did with Satya Nadella. Now, in Microsoft's case, the challenge was cloud. In Intel's case, it's software and customization. Now, I know the conventional wisdom says Intel's challenge is process technology, fixing its manufacturing missteps, and that will take years. Well, that's wrong. Manufacturing is important, but it's not everything. Software and customization are a growing part of the picture when it comes to chips, and we've seen that throughout tech, from Amazon to Apple. So as VMware CEO for the past 7 years, Pat's had an up-close look at cloud architectures and customer workloads. He knows a lot about how AWS and Azure are built and the work cloud customers need done in the cloud. So watch that space. Intel might just surprise you.
Okay, I got another thing here for you. But then I want to talk to you just with me personally. Can I do that in a second, Joe? But for our,
your show, Joe. Yeah.
It's a high bar. So it's a high bar to say Pat Gelsinger could be the next Satya Nadella. You know what I want you to do here? I want you to do one point that says he could be, and another, on the other hand, he can't. No, don't do that. That'd be on two other hands. No, don't do that. Anyway, well, what about that?
Well, I mean, that's true. Satya Nadella has done what a lot of people thought was just impossible at Microsoft. People, like, when you get in your head that a company's over, that a company's done, the thought is, well, nobody at that company is any good. It's going to take new blood. They were looking to bring somebody in for the auto industry. Remember that? Well, it turns out sometimes that's not the case. It's getting back to basics and fundamentals. So, yeah, it might be a stretch to say that this is another internal turnaround situation, but I really think there's not as much wrong with Intel fundamentally as investors might assume.
My point, I guess, was going to be this is not the same Intel that I remember from, and the issues from 5 or 10 years ago. Back then, it seemed maybe it was easier, John, but they'd have a big amount of wafer, and if they messed up how many they made out of a certain size, the yield wouldn't be where it needed to be for margins and profitability, and it had all had to do with engineering, and it's not that. Now it has to do with software, as you said, and upgrades and cloud computing. So it's not the same issues that Intel had. Well, I guess I should have known that 5, 10, 15 years ago. Why would they be the same issues?
Well, Joe, I think there are these inflection points where these leads and these advantages, these moats that companies have, are more vulnerable to assault. For Microsoft, they had this really strong position in operating systems, and people who were writing software really had to write it to Windows. But then when the web became big, and particularly Web 2.0, you could write applications to the web and have quite an experience there. Well, then, yeah, you could get a Mac and you could still interact with QuickBooks, for example, or other applications like that. And we're experiencing something like that more broadly now with cloud, mobile, the combination of those things. And because Intel sort of missed the boat when it came to the smartphone, as well as some other things, they've been vulnerable.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.